You ready?
Yes.
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu movie review.
Brought to you by us.
By our crazy crew.
By our crazy crew. The plot.
Yes.
What all happened? Let's give them a rundown.
What did happen?
So, it started the
Rose
opening
Depp.
scene.
Yeah,
Gets ghost fucked.
Lily Rose Depp was in love with, was getting
Ellen.
these.
Ellen.
Yeah, Ellen was getting these visions of being with this dark entity.
Yeah.
But she loves her husband. Her husband gets sent to go deliver a
He's like selling him a house.
Yeah, he gets to
selling a
go.
house
He gets
in
sent to go
Germany.
deliver a deed to some count that he knows nothing about, and it's all spooky. And the whole time,
The only reason he's doing it is to secure a better job, too.
yeah, and the whole time his boss is
his
saying
boss-
like Providence.
Providence.
His boss is tweaking.
His boss has gone crazy, but nobody knows yet.
And so then he goes on this long trek, and he arrives at a creepy, what's it, a mansion, a manor, whatever it is?
Castle.
Castle, yeah.
Well, first he gets to the camp.
Yeah,
Oh,
first,
yeah.
first he gets
Yeah, he
this
goes to the
camp,
little town outside of this, and
He
it's
stays-
in Transylvania.
stays a night.
And he
Yeah.
witnesses what seems to be a virgin sacrifice.
Yes.
And they're all talking about, like, we need to return him from where he came and shit like that. And then he gets to the castle.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
At some
his-
point during this, they do cut to his boss naked on the floor, tweaking.
Yeah, his boss is naked,
Foreshadowing.
drawing like
That's when I
Pentagram,
watched into the
sigils.
movie. That's when I
Yeah.
started watching.
Okay.
Wait, that guy was his boss?
Yeah, that
Yes.
was his boss
Oh,
who
I
kept
didn't
saying
make that
Providence
connection.
and like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Which what was that about?
I don't know what that word means.
creepy shit. Anyways.
Okay, so once he's at the castle, does anyone else want to go ahead? I don't feel like that.
Yeah.
He meets the Count, who's absolutely tweaking.
Absolutely.
He's like he has this like Darth Vader breathe. Where
Every
he's like,
I want to throw in every time he's nearby. Yeah, it's exactly that. Every time he's nearby, is it still recording?
yes.
Okay, that's weird. Anyways, they do this thing with the camera where they just pan it so slowly around the entire room.
Yeah.
And he
we're
can,
gonna,
like-
we're gonna talk about that
Yeah,
later.
he like just pops up in
Bro,
random
let's
locations.
finish the
Yeah.
plot, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so his boss is like being freaky. He's clear, like our guy. What is his Thomas?
Thomas.
Main character. Is clearly freaked out by him. He's like, you're talking way too loud and your voice is echoing too much. You keep moving in ways that I don't understand. So the Count is like having him sign a thing, but
And the whole time he's like demanding him to like, he's like, do what
He's
I
like,
say.
yeah, he's like,
Sit.
call me my lord,
Eat,
sit
drink.
down,
Yeah.
drink, stay, and so then eventually,
He's asserting his
He-
dominance.
yeah. So then Thomas, he's like, he keeps like waking up all of a sudden, like not
Yeah.
really knowing what's going on, and he has this.
And he's
like,
getting these bites on
he's
his
getting
chest progressively.
Yeah, and so after that happens a couple times, he goes to the Count and he's like, "Hey, with all due respect, I want to leave." And the Count's like, "Why?" And he's like, "I'm
You're
sick."
creepy.
And then
Before
he's like,
this, though, he convinces Thomas to sign a document,
Yeah, what
and
was
he
that?
says
It's
the
the
document
deed.
is the deed, but it's actually because it's written in his native tongue. It's actually him, like I think, nullifying his marriage to
"Oh,
Yeah,
He-
that's what
what's her name?
Nosferatu says later.
Ellen,
But
He-
Thomas, throughout the whole thing, is in and out of like a dream state. Like he doesn't know whether he's awake or whether he's
because he's getting the dreams that Ellen's been having.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's sort of in this in between place, and he's sort of losing his mind.
Yeah.
yeah."
Anyways, he eventually gets bit up by Nosferatu and escapes the castle. He jumps into a
Well,
river.
but before Nosferatu leaves for Germany, and Thomas is still there because Nosferatu thinks he's kind of like almost dead, basically.
Well-
these nuns come in and nurse Thomas back to health.
well, no,
Well, that's
'cause
after.
That's after.
That's after he jumps out the river.
That's after. He jumps out of the building. He tries to escape. He can't. He jumps out of the building into the river. Then
that happens after he finds the casket, right?
yeah.
He finds Nosferatu's casket.
Yeah.
Finds Nosferatu's casket, tries to ice pick him or
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
because he's
death.
like, "Oh, my boss is actually definitely a dead guy, and
Yeah.
I wanted to stay that
Yeah.
way this time."
Wait, what? We've jumped ahead.
No, he's like, I want him to die. Like, it's just he opens the
Yeah,
casket.
he's
and
like,
doesn't,
you should
clearly
fucking
get
die. This guy's weird.
Yeah, and
He tries to kill him, is stopped. Nosferatu grabs it and scares him out. He jumps out of a window into the river and floats away. And then it goes back to Ingerland. It goes back to his wife.
No, they're in Germany.
Are they?
No.
Yes, they were in Germany the whole time they were in Germany. They called everyone Frau and Herr.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
So it goes back to Inger, Germany, and because
Germany.
they speak with a British accent.
I know.
If it's in Germany,
I know.
why not make them speak
I
with
know.
a
They had
German
like a title
accent?
card that said Germany.
I swear they just do that for like every
I think it's like
period piece.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
some Western bullshit thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's because he fucking directed The Lighthouse. He loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone just can't like Willem Dafoe just talks like that.
Yeah.
But
So it cuts back, and his wife is like getting these. She's talking about how she's always had these visions, and before he leaves, she's like,
Begging
"I'm having
him
these
not to
visions of you like dying and darkness and death, and it's all gonna be bad." And she's like getting put into a trance, and they're calling in doctors, and Willem Dafoe shows up, and he's like this disgraced doctor because he started studying alchemy and stuff like that, and he's like,
It's like,
"She's
stop drugging her.
Yeah, he's like, no more ether. She is possessed by a
Hold on.
demon.
I have a question because
Yeah.
I walked in at like one of the exact moments where Ellen is cutting her hair, right as Thomas is leaving.
She cuts her hair and puts it in a locket for Thomas.
I see. Okay.
And
I was confused about what
Nosferatu
that was.
snatches
Okay.
it
oh
and
yeah,
never gives it
so
back.
Nosferatu has
He's like,
the locket.
That's what the locket was. Okay,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's got like her DNA that he can. track
Yeah.
and shit. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
Yeah.
I'll just, I'm gonna real quick deliver the rest of the plot.
Yeah.
So it cuts back. She's getting spells of sickness, and they are spreading to her friend whose house she's staying at. And then Nosferatu loads himself up onto a cargo ship and ships himself over, and the ship comes down with the plague because he's like this malevolent spirit, and he is a plague of darkness. And the boat crashes. The plague spreads to
There's, like,
Germany.
rats everywhere.
There's rats everywhere. This is when the rats start showing up. And then Thomas eventually gets healed, nursed back to health by the
nuns.
Orthodoxy. And I thought they were really cool in this
I like
movie.
those nuns. they were chill as fuck.
They had a pretty small part, but it was like it was pretty dope. Then what? He
Everyone's
gets
back in
yeah,
Germany
he
now.
gets back to Germany. Everyone's back in Germany.
When he shows back up, it's the middle of the night, and he like dramatically falls off his fucking horse.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Lily Rose Depp runs out and was like,
I was laughing when that shit happened.
I had to, the amount of times that I had to stop myself, go, what the fuck's going on, and laugh.
Yeah, there were some like kind of goofy looking moments.
Kind of goofy moments.
But it's because the whole thing looked very like
There was one word
theatrical.
that Nosferatu said that sent me and Bennett both like giggling. I can't remember what the fuck the word was.
There were a lot of times I just couldn't understand them, too.
Yeah.
No.
So they're all back in Germany. Thomas, Willem Dafoe, and the other guy, the other
hospital
doctor.
guy.
They're like, we need to hunt down Nosferatu tonight. And
Because they're the only ones who believe that he's actually there. Everyone else thinks it's just the normal plague.
yeah,
And the guy that the husband and wife that they're staying with are like, get the fuck out.
yeah, and the wife goes crazy.
She goes crazy.
And she dies, and Nosferatu shows up and eats the guy's kids.
Yeah, that was so
Oh,
terrible.
yeah, that was bad.
And
That was
then,
terrible.
so the husband starts to go mad.
And then they-
Nosferatu's already. He told Lily Rose Depp, "You have 3 days.
Yeah.
And each day I'm gonna like pretty much take something
Yeah.
from you, and on the third day I'm going to take Thomas. I'm gonna kill Thomas. before
I'm either
you
gonna
know."
kill Thomas or you're gonna be in love with me forever.
Yeah.
Basically.
So she had to pick between.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that gets set up.
When they bury the mother and child, and the husband comes back into the morgue or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
fucks the dead wife.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering. If
Hey!
that was something that I just
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. He goes crazy. He breaks into the morgue, fucks his dead wife, and then dies on top
Dies
of her
on top of
because
her.
he
Yeah.
also has the plague.
And then they light everything on fire.
Yeah, they burn the whole place because they're like, this is fucked.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, let's go kill Nosferatu.
Yeah.
So they go off. They get there,
They burn Nosferatu's coffin so he can't come back.
Well, hold on. They get to his castle. They pop open his coffin. He goes to stab him, and it's the boss. It's the boss. It's the boss that's gone crazy, and he's like, "Blah!" And then like he's being stabbed, and Willem Dafoe gets a sledgehammer and goes, boom, right on top of the steak. It was so overkill.
It was. Willem Dafoe went a little nuts for a minute there because everyone else was like, "No, it's too late." Thomas was like, "No, it's too late. He's already found Lily Rose Depp."
Yeah, and then yes.
Can I share my favorite
Willem
Dafoe moment?
Yes.
Get in here.
Come here.
When we are first introduced to the professor, Willem Dafoe, he's like, "Here, my boy, come give me a hug." And he stands up.
He's like speaking in tongues.
And then he gets hugged, and then plumes of dust come off of him. And I don't know if anybody else saw that.
I didn't notice
that shit was fucking hilarious. It was I'm so serious. Run it back. Run it back. Watch the tapes. That shit was there.
He's just dusty.
He's that fucking...
And that wasn't even in the script. He's just that old now.
He's just that fucking... They left him in the lighthouse too long.
How old is Willem Dafoe?
I don't know, man. He looks old.
Old as she is.
He's so cute.
Oh, I hope he lives forever. I hope
do
he lives
too.
forever.
Like a kid on the forehead.
I do too.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Willem Dafoe burns this grave, or burns and breaks Nosferatu's grave, and then Thomas is like, "He's not here. You knew it all along. He's gonna go. He's like fucking my wife."
Yeah.
and then she is like, "You know what, Nosferatu?" Because she's like, "Nosferatu, I'll fuck you."
She's like, "I love you."
Yeah.
Love you, babe.
They fuck and.
Well, they don't even really.
Okay,
He's just kind of sucking on her.
He bites
No,
her.
he fucks her.
He kills her, drains
but,
all
like-
of her blood,
Yeah.
and she basically,
But the main
by
purpose-
doing that, forces him to stay out until it's light, and then he dies on top of her.
Yeah. And you see his little twiggy
his
legs,
tiny
and his tiny ass,
butt.
his tiny little butt.
Can we talk about how pathetic Thomas was?
Pathetic.
He was literally just like,
Helpless.
he was so helpless.
All right,
He was
now
controlled by all the other characters.
Yeah.
we can talk about the themes.
Okay.
All right. So the whole thing with where they were talking about how Nosferatu is like the darkness inside of Elise? Ellen. Inside of Ellen. And that she needs to identify the darkness and then sanctify it or crucify it.
And the crosses throughout the whole movie.
Well,
There's so many crosses.
But that whole part, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, like, it all came full circle when she was like, yeah, I am haunted by Nosferatu. I'm gonna fuck him to death.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, the way all of that tied in, it made everything in that movie feel, like, every line felt intentional.
Very.
In that
very.
shit.
Yeah, I really liked the part where one of the village ladies was like, "And may this garlic bless you and keep you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
But yeah. True love.
True love.
True love.
There was a lot
What
of
is
talk
it?
about true
They
love.
talked about love all the time, and she loved him so much, and then he was far away.
Yeah.
And she clearly got off to Nosferatu far more than him.
Yeah.
Well,
And she-
one
I mean, she
point-
also
At
admitted
the-
She
that.
says
fully.
it.
Yeah, the part
Um,
where she's like,
but-
you'll never please me like he does.
But she-
And then they start fucking.
And then they start fucking. Nicholas Holt is like booty out fucking.
But it's difficult because, like, we don't know what her true intentions are,
No.
what her true feelings are, because she's possessed half the time.
Exactly.
The scene
Because
when
she switches so violently between being completely sane and completely out of it.
yeah, and I thought like her eventually like falling for Nosferatu was sort of abrupt. Like, I think it could have been like foreshadowed a little bit more throughout.
I
The
Well,
think
hold on.
what
We're not there yet.
I think she realized that that's what she had to do, though.
She did, but like even before that, she was just like sort of.
Yeah.
I feel like, well, because I was like, once Nosferatu gave the 3-day ultimatum, I'm like, either they're killing him before the ultimatum, or he's gonna take her.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's how it was set up. And they tried to kill her and they failed.
Yeah.
Or kill him and they
Yeah.
failed. And so he took her. And it was like, it felt all in order. And, like, like, it all felt sound narrative-wise to me.
Yeah.
One,
Do you guys think that did you guys feel like it was more she fucked Nosferatu to death as like an act of defiance against Nosferatu, or her submitting and giving in and saying she can't.
I think it was submitting because she literally, because he literally was like, "Do you do this of your own will?"
Yeah,
and she
was
said
like,
yes.
Yeah, and I felt like it was more that she couldn't fight for Thomas anymore, no matter how much she loved him. That the dark forces within her were just too overpowering.
Can we talk about trauma and obsession?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of where I see Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this other movie called Mysterious Skin by Greg Araki, and one of the main characters in the movie was molested by his baseball coach as a kid, and he becomes like a sex addict as an adult, and he just is constantly reminded of this predator as a kid, but he's sort of obsessing over him.
Is that
and
the
I think,
one where there's another? Yeah.
It's also with aliens.
Yeah.
And I think I sort of see like Ellen in that.
I think
in
it's
that light.
I think it's really important that her whole childhood she was haunted by it, and then she met Thomas, and Thomas made everything go away, and she was good again until they never really explain how Nosferatu gets like reawakened.
Yeah.
Well, it
I
was
wasn't there for that
because
part,
she
but-
was like, she in her loneliness, she called out for anybody, and that's who was that's who heard her.
And I think also that she, like, falling in love with Thomas, she had become, like, comfortable in a way, or, like...
She was complacent or something, or...
I guess
No.
she let her guard down. She said that he had, like, cured her almost, so her attachment to him...
Her melancholy.
I see.
Yeah, it went away, and with that, and then Nosferatu, I guess, missed her, she missed...
Where did we get introduced to him, though? Because I wasn't Nosferatu, because...
So the movie opens with her standing at a window in the middle of the night, and it's like she's like sleepwalking, having a nightmare, and she's like, "Come to me, come to me, come to me," basically.
So, okay.
Because I feel like it's one of those things that people who are experience like a long period of time with just something that's bad, once it gets good or once they get comfortable, it's like uncomfortable in a way.
Yeah.
That they're so used to it. So then she goes back to Nosferatu, or Nosferatu comes back, and it's still, you know.
Yeah, that was like... Was she having, like, an internal struggle the whole time? Like, did she secretly, or, like, deep down, subconsciously want Nosferatu the entire time?
That was...
I suppose, but you could also just put it as, like, she had two different minds, or just there were two different, brains running her, basically.
It's like the part that wants to get better, and the part that wants to just succumb.
Yeah.
Nosferatu says something that was, like, interesting. He says, like, do you not remember, or did you not think that I would come back? Like I told you. Did you not think that I would ever return? And that gave me, like, complete unprocessed trauma vibes. Because it's, like, the thing where even if you aren't thinking about it every day and it's not there, something can, like, still trigger it.
Yeah.
Where it's, like, it's like, did you not think I would return?
I think the way I view Ellen is, like, as one brain instead of two. Like, all of her thoughts were from the same place, but they were just conflicting with each other, as opposed to, like, two different separate thoughts arguing against each other.
What was it that Nosferatu, he said, he was like, all I am is, was it appetite or was it hunger?
Appetite.
Yes, that's like, I feel like that's very real, because you can see it as, like, him having a hunger, or her, like, that's what he is. It's just like a desire
manifestation
for more, like a constant feeling of being, like, unfulfilled.
Yeah.
I got one more thing to talk about. In the sex scene with Nosferatu and
Ellen?
What?
Ellen?
Yes.
Ellen.
In the sex scene with Nosferatu and Ellen, they kind of cast him as, like, vulnerable. The way that they filmed that, he's kind of tearing up at one moment, and why did they try and make him kind of sympathetic there?
I think about, like, Thomas and Ellen's sex scene and how, like, aggressive it was and sort of abrasive. Like, out of nowhere, there was no foreplay, there was no romance leading up to it. And then Nosferatu and Ellen's sex scene is kind of beautiful, even though he's fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
But
I didn't love the way that they did his character, like, just appearance-wise. He had, like, his little fucking toupee on, and he was just, like...
the hair
weird,
piece
like,
is
a crazy mustache.
He should have been bald.
He should have been
he should've been
hairless.
bald.
you know who he looks
No,
like?
the stash is fine.
Have y'all seen Meet the Robinsons?
Yeah.
Do you
He
know,
was too human. He literally looked like
what's
a
his
little
name?
corpse, though.
Or whatever.
Goob when he's all
You
grown
reminded
up.
me of Goob. Full-grown Goob. Like, no joke.
He kind of does.
But one thing is just like I feel like there are a lot of things that can be. Like I was saying in the car, there are a lot of things that it could be like metaphorical about. And one of the main things that comes to mind is, as with a lot of movies, it's like addiction, where the end could be seen as like pretty much an overdose, where that's when she finally
She
and
gives
the
in.
stability
She
of
gets
her
her
life is like it's nice, and she loves Thomas, but she still craves that kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Was this movie scary?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Super
I
scary.
agree.
I would say.
I think-
Yeah, something we were saying earlier was there's like no direct jump scares. I mean,
There's
there's
a- there's a
there's
lot.
more moments where you would think there would be a jump scare, but then
Yeah.
there's not. Like the music buildup almost never
I would-
actually resulted in a jump
You know what's really
scare.
interesting? I think
It was just terrifying.
I think the beef of the movie, the middle of the movie was scary. I think the end
Yes.
the end of the movie was intentionally not frightening at all.
Yeah.
Like
but it was
and
just
Well, that's-
viscerally disgusting.
it was, but
Yeah.
like it was also like
Sorry.
sort of like a transition from like this horror to this love story in a sense. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the genre almost changed.
I agree. I feel like it was kind of 3-part structured,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the beginning, it was all this
Oh, I wanna
setup
talk
with
about
the
this.
quest and the voyage and
Yes.
everything, and then the middle was just pure horror.
Yeah.
Because the middle was Thomas getting chased around the castle. The middle was
the pursuit.
like everybody being possessed and
Yeah.
dying. It was all of this like, and there were a ton of jump scares in the middle.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it slowed down,
It slowed down a lot.
which I appreciated.
Yeah.
and also the shots changed.
And it was like
entirely.
the light arrived and to like vanquish the darkness. That was the vibe I got from
Yeah.
it.
And okay, so I came in around the time when Thomas left for his quest, and from when he left from his quest to when he jumped in the river, it was one of the most beautiful movies I've seen recently. It was insane. The cuts from like black to Thomas in this like surreal world with the trees over him, the
Yes.
horses coming, insane transitions between shots where he's like in the castle. You don't know it like you can't. The viewer is not grounded at all. It made me feel anxious as fuck.
That
'cause, like,
cut when the
but
horse, the carriage is running towards him and then it stops. Yeah.
Before we start talking about the way it was shot, let's
I wanna
finish up
talk-
with the scary.
I want to talk about
Scary.
the body horror and the gore and the sheer amount of fluids.
Yeah.
Oh,
There
yeah.
were so many bodily fluids. And of course it's a vampire movie, there's going to be blood, but the throw up and the throwing up blood and the crying blood and the stabbing in the chest
Yeah,
and
because
the
like it's crazy that
foaming
they
at the
made
mouth.
vampires scary again. Because have
Yeah.
any of you guys even ever been afraid of a vampire?
No.
Like no, they have always just been kind of
goofy,
goofy,
Little
kind
camp.
of hot.
kind of
Yeah.
hot.
But and you're also so used to the drinking from the neck that the fact that he was going straight for the
Oh
heart
my
made it so much more
When-
unsettling. For
Yes.
Because he would bite and then he would
He's
start
probably biting, like,
twerking.
both.
He would throw- and you could hear him gulping.
Yes,
the
that was
oh,
the
it was
worst.
so visceral.
Oh my God, yeah.
And when he, it was just
Yeah,
like
the crunch and the gulping sound that was like
It was
a
also, like-
fuck ton of blood just coming
Yeah.
out. Ugh.
it was so sexual too. Like
yes,
Well,
which
it
I
was
loved.
uncomfortable with but it was really cool.
I really liked it, but like
Yeah.
at the beginning, I thought it was sort of like disparaging to Ellen for a little bit, and then I was like,
Yes.
okay, this is kind of cool
Yeah.
the way that her and Nosferatu are connected.
Well,
Yeah.
you missed it in the first scene, but in the first scene, after she gets like suffocated, she's like, "Help me!"
Yeah.
And then she like, and then she starts just like, She just starts moaning, and it was like, okay, so this is gonna be fucking people getting like murked right next to people getting fucked.
Yeah.
And I was like, that. It was a great opening scene to set up like the weird grossness of this movie.
What do
Yeah,
we think
that was
about
a
like
good
the control that people like bestowed upon Ellen, like her what was his name Friedrich.
Friedrich.
Like she wasn't supposed to like indulge in her craving of Nosferatu. They tried to bound her. They tried to control her. They gave
And-
her sleeping medicine or whatever.
And
I
that's
thought that
the
was
shit,
really interesting.
Yeah, and that's the shit that brought the curse on.
Yeah.
Was the fact that like, well, I mean, it originally it was her reaching out to Nosferatu, but like, when they were like, "Don't discuss it" and all this shit, I feel like I don't know. I kind of lost it.
I think it was blurry whether she like wanted to be satiated by him or not, and it was like that's what kind of gets me is like I don't know if he intentionally made it hard to like delineate whether she really wanted him throughout the entire time or whether she was truly in love with Thomas. and I think if you made that more clear, I would like the movie a lot better.
I think it was both.
I think it
was
Both.
the same
I was gonna.
Well,
both
yeah.
things can be true.
Because like do you remember one time they're like lower animal instinct or like lower animal function?
Yeah.
I think they're trying to bring out that difference between like cognitively she loves Thomas,
But
except
her heart is literally for Nosferatu.
her heart is
Her heart
sold
beats
to
for him.
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Like
Interesting.
her lust, her passion,
Yeah.
and like she dreams about him. It's the unconscious mind
Yeah.
that goes after Nosferatu.
Yeah, I was just gonna say about the scary thing. The actors also did an incredible job with their
Yes.
body movements were so unsettling the whole
Yeah.
time.
The face she made where she's like,
Oh my god!
I Lily Rose Depp. She's not a dancer, I don't think, or anything, but the moves she was doing. She sprung from completely limp into a perfect bridge.
It was like,
Like, it was nuts.
The
It was
movements
nuts.
were scary in a way that I felt only when I saw The Exorcist. where it was just
Contortion,
like, what the
like,
fuck? Like
body
just,
horror.
Like a person
Completely.
can't move like that, and it's freaking me out.
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, that was
Oh yeah, I was
All
thinking
right.
about like references to other horror movies as well.
pretty movie.
Exorcist for sure.
beautiful.
Beautiful movie.
Beautiful.
One thing I first like, it does this thing I noticed it immediately where, at least in the beginning, every single shot is either head on somebody looking at the camera or head on profile shot of somebody like that.
Yeah.
And even like the scene where he's talking with his boss, it alternates constantly
Between-
from but every single time they like come to a stop, it's always directly facing the camera with the camera directly facing them, or they're at this like sideways angle like this.
Did you notice also the aspect ratio was not as wide as most movies are?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't widescreen.
Yeah.
It was
I thought that was
3
kind of
by 4.
interesting.
But I think like, and also it really flattened
Yeah.
the image in the beginning, and that like even once he gets out into the country, that scene of him like standing there and he's looking at the wilderness, that even that looked really flat to me. And I feel like that
Theatrical.
was like harkening back to the original, because
Yeah.
the way they filmed that was all head on
stage
like
set.
German expressionism
I agree for sure.
kind of shit.
I think it's also just like Robert Eggers' style though, because like, I mean, that's how I saw The Witch, sort of.
The Vavitch.
The Witch. But no, yeah, I agree.
What
The Lighthouse was also towing the line between horror and like kind of sexual.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, oh for sure.
do you guys want to
And
talk
also very
about
theatrical.
the scenes where it kind of gets fantastical, like the lighting, like the crossroads scene?
Yeah.
There's this scene where he pulls up to a crossroads, and it's like, okay, that's really strong imagery that has a bunch of myths around it, and then like everything is dark, and it's just this super bright light from above, so it's all just shadows.
It's snowing.
It's snowing. It like looks. It looks like a shot from Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, and-
honestly, a lot of the shots here gave me that same like surrealist horror of Beau is Afraid, and like it felt very like.
And you know,
Like,
those shots
ooh.
did not continue at the end at all. Like they completely
As,
changed. up.
Yeah.
as someone who's never taken any kind of film class and doesn't know what German expressionism is, the one thing I noticed like visually was at the end when the sun rose. I don't know if it was, but I thought to myself, is that the first goddamn time we've seen the sun in the entire movie?
It was
I mean,
close to
probably.
it
Yeah,
because
probably.
they didn't shoot it in black and white either. Like there
But
were
it
colors,
felt like
but it
was.
felt like it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
like it was always either nighttime or it was raining or it was snowing or it was
Cloudy.
way overcast.
That's why I thought it was fucking England.
No, yeah, because when she was outside with her like little girlfriend, it was like I remember noticing that it was fully cloudy. Like there was no warm colors in the entire
Yeah.
movie. It was very like
So cold.
Yeah. Which I think also there wasn't very much blood in the movie, besides when he starts like at the very end.
When he ate the pigeon.
Well, yeah, when
Yeah.
he ate the pigeon, that was incredible.
That was-
Whoever made that like fake
Once I saw the
pigeon,
pigeon in his
was-
hand, I looked away and until I heard the crunch.
Yeah.
you should have seen like
I saw
the.
the blood.
Oh my god, the little fake
It looked,
pigeon
they
that
had a
they
little
made.
straw in
It
the
was
neck.
so fucking
I bet when
funny.
he was holding it, he was like pumping it with his thumb.
Yeah. There was a
That's
lot
how
of
he did it,
dried blood.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like vivid, bright red blood. They saved a lot of that because it was there was only blood and the scenes where occult shit relating to Nosferatu was happening. It was like when the dude was stabbing himself to write. It was when that same guy was in the prison cell and he was blood all on the wall,
Shit on the wall.
blood and shit.
Shit on the wall.
and
Is there shit
then
in the wall?
For sure.
Oh my God.
probably, and then it was just like. But then it was so vivid in that last scene where Nosferatu's hit by the sun and he's like,
eyes.
and the blood is coming out of his eyes and mouth, and like, I don't know, that scene was so striking to me.
They did, and that was also one of the first times we got to like see Nosferatu like that was the first time we saw his body. That was the first time we saw him like well lit, like head on, like not just his like, you know, kind of his silhouette. And
there was something a little too uncanny to me about how human he looked. Like, he literally looked like they dug a corpse up out of the ground and put it in front of you.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It was a little too...
When he jumped out of his coffin at the beginning, or when he was so big.
Yes.
Like,
he's so much tall, but he's hunched over, but he's still like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He went from being like very menacing, I feel like, because I think a lot of things that happened when you were talking about being controlled, the more resistance that was put up, the more scary he was, and the more violent she would be. Like when we saw her like really thrashing around and freaking out, that was in a lot of ones where they're restraining her, they're taking her, they're bloodletting, shit like that.
And as the movie furthers, they humanize Nosferatu more, and they take less of Thomas's scenes away. They take more Thomas's scenes away.
And like she gets like more autonomy throughout the movie, whilst Nosferatu becomes.
Yeah, it's recording.
Yeah.
Yes.
But while Nosferatu gets like smaller, I think he does get physically smaller, but also by the end, in the last scene, he's like, it's kind of beautiful, but also he ends up being weak and pathetic.
Yeah.
And
Just
kind
bones.
of a little gross.
It's like all the power is gone from him now.
He's no longer this big scary thing, just something that's undesirable.
And also the last scene when he's like lying dead on top of her, the dude Thomas is like, I'm home, and then he runs in there and he immediately grabs Elaine and Ellen. He immediately grabs Ellen and he doesn't even touch Nosferatu. He's just
like he's not there.
Yeah, it's literally like, and all of the attention, the whole time I was looking at this corpse on top of her, but all of the attention is like put on to Thomas and Ellen.
And he's like pretty much the only character who we don't really hear him talk about Ellen's like afflictions that much. He barely.
He tries to
says
just
anything.
ignore it.
He's like,
He
hush
just
your
pays attention to her.
melancholies.
He loves her, and he just kind of he fully ignores Nosferatu at the end. He just doesn't give a shit.
Alright. What are the things that we liked? What are the things we loved about
I wanted
this
to
movie?
briefly throw out a shout out to the costumes. Whoever did the costuming did an incredible job. All of the jackets and clothing is entirely period accurate and looks like it was probably all handmade as well. Like the right materials, the right colors, the styles, the sleeves.
It was stunning.
All of the sleeves were so beautiful.
Everyone had these like incredible silhouettes.
Incredible.
That were, like, oh my god, her brown dress was killing me the whole movie. It was so beautiful. Not the whole movie, but the whole time she had it on.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
And the hair even. The hair was accurate. The bonnets. They finally gave a girl a bonnet. They finally gave a young woman a bonnet. Thank fucking God.
In the year of 2025, women have bonnets.
Women have bonnets. That's all. Things we love.
Things we love. Go ahead.
That's mine.
I just love the first act. And if the first act was the whole movie, I would have been in love with it. More than Nosferatu was with Ellen.
Things you loved, Friday?
I loved a lot about it. I loved the practical effects.
Yeah.
Real as fuck.
I think little CGI.
The thing I loved the most was the way they showed Nosferatu as a vampire, and like the
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
the like seduction and control he had over people, where like he would just say something and people would do it. And it's like, oh wow, that's really like, it's fucking terrifying to watch. That part was the scariest part to me. And also the fact that they made the vampire kiss, they made that like a sexual thing, and they made it like euphoric to get bitten by a vampire.
Yeah.
That's like that. It's accurate to like vampire lore, and then it's also like it adds like this, because he's so physically repulsive.
Yeah.
Except his powers are of attraction, and like him being in the shadows. I don't know. I was just obsessed with the way that they made him like this dark creature of the shadows that attracts like everyone, and like just like works his little fingers into everything as a manipulator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add to the things I loved. I love horror movies, and that is the first time that I feel like that's the most fully realized vampire movie. With like, I felt like how people must have felt when they first heard about like vampires as a concept. Where it's like, oh my god, drinking blood, that's terrifying. But like, I'm like, who gives a shit? It's a vampire. This time I was.
Yeah.
I think he just revolutionized the vampire. Like I think he created like a neo vampire.
You guys hear that? Vampires are back.
But like a vampire is like, it's obviously like a horror character, but it's also like innately sexual. Like he's bringing that back, which is really fucking cool.
Yeah, and not in a not in a Twilight sort of way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like an Interview with a Vampire sort of way.
It's
the vampires are fucking
real.
ugly.
Yeah, not like it's a hot vampire, but like vampire is hot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like still a really good allegory for just like I'm still in love with my ex.
All right. Yeah. All right. Things we did not like.
Okay. What was I about to say?
The only thing I would say is like sometimes I couldn't understand what they were saying.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think they needed captions first.
Yeah.
I feel like there were some tropes, like some horror movie tropes that were like kind of derivative.
I didn't love the jump scare. I feel like they didn't need to rely on that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was enough in the movie already that they didn't need the like.
I agree.
I really didn't like how like Friedrich like wouldn't believe them. Like I've seen that so many
he was
times
annoying.
in so many horror movies where it's like I don't believe this is happening. I'm gonna ignore it.
It's one thing for that to happen nowadays, but back then they believed that everyone who could like.
Exactly.
They believed that if you could like make a big wave in a bath, that you were a witch.
But also, because he was like a proponent of science, and it was this whole thing where it's like science is not equipped to handle these sort of like spiritual problems, and I feel like that kind of narrative is like very popular today in like some political movements and things like that, and I feel like that's why it's like such a gripping sort of thing.
In like Evil Dead though, the characters. I think it was the brother or somebody was just like ignoring his sisters. It was literally the exact same thing.
Was it the movie
the
where
remake of Evil
when
Dead.
she was the drug addict?
Yeah.
That movie drove me crazy.
He was like she's just going through withdrawals. Like she's fine.
Like it was raining blood, and he was like, I don't know, maybe we should get out of here, guys.
Maybe it's acid rain.
It took like 4 of his friends dying. And then when they first walked in, they were like, oh, the basement is filled with dead animals,
Bro.
and then like a cult book, and he was like. Guess this is the best place for my sister to detox from cocaine.
Wait, what do we think about like the plague though? Because like that was
cool.
That was sort of interesting.
I thought it made sense.
I thought it was great with like how Nosferatu's like not really. He's like a creature of like he's like a force of nature.
Yeah.
Like a plague.
Yeah.
I'd say like one of the things I didn't like was the jump scares basically because it was just like it was kind of like dumb. It was like. One time they were fucking and then all of a sudden jump scare Ellen with blood in her eyes.
Yeah, that's so random.
That one was so
when they would
bad.
cut away to random shit. Yeah.
That was the worst part of the movie for me, where it was just like crazy, like intense scene of fucking, then intense scene of like screaming, like right after. I'm like, bro, what is going on?
Yeah.
And there were some like, there were other like really weird pacing moments where like. I don't know if I just missed this, but I didn't realize that Friedrich had the plague, and then immediately he just like goes in and he has this huge sore in his face. And
they didn't show it. That was the reveal. Was the sore?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good because it was like showing how he's corrupted, and then you're like, oh, he's like fucked up, and then you see him fuck the body, and you're like, oh my god, he's super fucked up.
I guess it sort of makes sense that he was gonna die shortly after his wife did, and so
I as soon as like one of them died, I was like, that whole family's fucking dead.
Yeah.
They're a sacrificial lamb at that point.
Oh my god, the scene with him killing the children was so intense. Like that could not be shown in theaters like fucking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
And I'm glad though that they managed. It was just the concept of what was happening. You knew what was going on. They didn't show like pretty much anything. You just saw the silhouette of a kid.
Silhouette of a kid getting its neck ripped out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yay.
as a fan of cannibalism,
what?
I love the
Clip
bite. He bites someone's neck out and. They made it so sexy, and
like the blood, like drip, like all that shit.
No, it was like
so
early in the
like
movie.
The boss?
He rips someone's neck out, and like their skin rips in such a fucking. All right, I'm done.
What? Yo.
Right?
What is going on here?
All the aspects of the movie were obviously great, but I think the least strong was
Sorry.
the script. personally. Sometimes when
Absolutely.
Ellen was speaking, it was like genuinely like manic pixie dream girl,
I wanna
and it
punch
made
you in
me
the face.
actually like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it like.
Lily Rose Depp is hard. It's hard for her not to play that way.
I know, cause like she has such a modern face. To me.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at her. I was like thinking about this thing where it's like
She's Victorian eyes, though.
She's Victorian, but she's also modern. Like
Yeah.
she's like, it's.
Well, I think
odd.
it's also overexposure to her face, like
True.
in modern
She was in that
settings.
show with The Weeknd.
I'm
Like,
just
one se-
yeah,
one season.
Yeah.
yeah.
That was awful.
Anything else we don't like?
I think the script was also kind of inconsistent because there was that one, like, it's like goes from Old English and like lighthouse dialogue to like, we're all gonna die, all of us are gonna die. Like when, I don't know if you all remember that part where Lily
Yeah.
Rose Depp is like screaming that.
I enjoyed the change in like the tone of the script though, because like sometimes when it was in like really old English, like especially when we were doing like subtitles whatnot, it was kind of like a fairy tale framing
Yeah.
kind of device for the whole movie, and I like enjoyed that there was that like it felt like medieval when we were like looking in on it with a lot of like, you know, the Old English and whatnot, but then we were a little bit more modern.
I'll say, yeah, and we got
in this
more
dialogue
modern.
side.
I think the more intense the dialogue was, because if things that people were yelling was like, this is really happening. Like when he yelled that, or
Yeah.
when she was yelling, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna
Whatever
die.
Willem Dafoe said, his like line.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm talking about? I
I
can't remember what he
kinda
said
remember.
though.
In my memory of of the script at the very least,
So-
he's
so-
so sassy.
Some of the script, I gotta say this, some of the script sounded like Tumblr speech.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Where it was
That's
like,
what I'm
no,
saying.
no, you've seen that thing where it's like, somebody made a post and it was like, does thy darkness not consume thy soul?
It got-
And it's like, this means nothing except for like the emotions and the vibe that you're trying to portray with this dialogue.
They went really quickly between like just poetic speak and like normal everyday speak.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
But they were
yeah.
they were talking like people would have. This was like late 1800s.
There was some Tumblr
it
shit,
was,
like
like, mid-
Tumblrized 1800s talk,
Yes,
where I'll
I think that
put
made it
some
more
examples
approachable,
up
though,
on
like-
screen.
they went way too poetic sometimes for sure. Like I am the light and you are the dark. Type shit.
I kind of enjoyed it, but I liked it when it was
Where's that
like
bait?
obviously separate
sitting on
from the like reality of what was happening in the
Yeah.
show. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like once again, the
right.
like fairy tale idea.
Conclusions plus ratings from -10 to 10. -10 being ironic enjoyment, 10 being unironic enjoyment, and 0 being I did not enjoy this.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, what was the rating that you gave Sonic 3?
I gave Sonic 3 a 7
Okay.
because I messed with that movie.
I think I gave
Sonic
it an 8.
3.
You gave it an 8.
I think I might need to change my score for Sonic 3.
I would've given Sonic
You
3
did
a
as
3.
well. I don't want Nosferatu to only be
Sonic 3
2
was
points.
a-
above
Actually, no. I would have given it a -5.
I would have given
What,
it. I would have
Sonic?
given it.
Sonic 3.
Okay, this is not the Sonic. You guys missed the Sonic 3 video. That's already
Okay.
out.
Okay. It's already out.
Nosferatu. Concluding thoughts and rating.
I thought it was disgusting, and I really enjoyed that. It was fucked up in a way.
And would you let
that's-
Nosferatu hit?
Be for real,
We'll
be
get
for real,
rating
be for real.
and-
That
and
twink
rating.
bob.
It was just very beautiful. I give it a 9
He
out of
was?
10.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, it left me speechless. After what I let him hit, fuck no. That's a bag of bones, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would give
Little
it.
butt.
I know his little. When they were fucking and she put her hands on his back, I like
I
thought
Imagine the texture
Oh,
of that.
and
And the juxtaposition of her young,
I know it's
pure skin.
soft.
Soft, pure skin.
Like he was a real scab of a
His
guy.
aura still
He is a
was
scab.
too much for her, though.
Anyways, that's
Kill
fine.
you.
My concluding thoughts. Yeah. Concluding thoughts.
Wait, is your audio still going?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Anyways, my concluding thoughts are that it was a great movie. It was shot really beautifully, and I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
I want to write something about it. It was very cool. I would give it. Yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10. Very close to perfect.
Yeah, very close to perfect. I think I also have to say the same things that everybody else said, because I don't have any original thoughts actually ever. I don't usually like horror movies that much. Like, I am not an adrenaline person, not an adrenaline junkie, but that, like, got me in the right place in my brain. I really liked it, and I think I'm gonna give it. So I'm really struggling, because I don't know. This is the first movie I'm rating, and I'm scared.
Here's what I say. A 5 is a perfectly passable movie. A 10 is a perfect movie with no flaws. 0.
She gets a 9.
A 9.
Yeah.
I think this movie helped me sort of like realize what I like and what I don't like more. And I don't think I like allegorical story tales as much as I thought I did. But I think it was really good, and I like Willem Dafoe, and I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
Period.
Alright, I like Allegory. I love
You
that
like
movie.
Allegory.
I love horror movies. That's breaking into my top 3 horror movies of all time.
Very much.
I loved how it looked. I started crying like 3 times, maybe 5 times, but that's just personal.
True love.
True love. And yeah, I loved it. I'm giving it a 9. And I would fuck Nosferatu.
I would too. I would too. I want him to bite me, and I want it to be like 8 years of gooning.
Also, the whole movie, I couldn't get Nosferatu out of my head.
Wait, guys, I have a hypothetical question, or not even hypothetical. If they were to
Just a
continue to
lie.
fuck like every night, would he like just eat away at her? Like, what
Yeah.
would happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I
the
don't-
idea of
He's
the
been
like
eating away at her
parasitic.
this whole time.
Because even with Thomas, he was like slowly draining him of all of his strength and blood.
Yeah.
So some people he did kill immediately, some people he didn't.
Some people,
Goodbye,
it was
you
like
sick
he took
bastard.
their
So
minds.
she was always like temporary for him in a